Okay. And let's get the little tripod set up. Okay, welcome back. Okay, again, this is worksheet number 4 on types of conflict, and I'd like to go over the questions and the answers. And again, as I repeated before, conflict is always, the main character versus some kind of opposing force. And there are 6 types of conflict. And as I stated multiple times, unless you have conflict in a story, it's going to be incredibly boring. It'd be like reading a business report. And nobody wants to read those unless you're into business. Okay? So, it's getting warm. Angela is having the time of her life on a cruise ship with food and fun all around her. Just as she prepared for the limbo competition, the ship crashes into an iceberg, which punctures the hull and causes the ship to sink. Now she and a group of strangers must fight for survival on a life raft deep in ice-cold ocean waters with limited supplies. Can she stay alive until the rescue team arrives? Okay. So, we have Angela versus the ocean. Right? And what's that? Nature. Okay. Story that happens more often than what you realize. Number two. It's 1938. Max Schnell is a native German citizen wondering if the world has gone mad around him. His Jewish friends and neighbors have been forbidden to own businesses, work in retail stores, drive cars, go to the movies, or attend public school. Seeking to raise awareness and to build a resistance against this anti-Semitic movement, Max begins printing an underground newspaper. How long can Max continue his publishing activities without being caught by the Nazis? Will it be long enough to make a difference? Well, that actually did happen. The Nazi Germany passed what were called the Nuremberg laws, which that's what's the start of it all. Anyways, who's the protagonist? It would be Max. All right, he's the main character. And who's he up against? It's up against the Nazi, or the Nazi Party. In this case here, the Nazi Party ran Germany. So in this case here, he's up against society. And forgive me for writing kind of sideways. I'm hoping you guys to see that. So number 2, it's person versus society. Sadly, in reality, those that did speak out against the Nazis at that time usually ended up in the camps and died. Sad to say. Some made it through, but others did not. Many of them did not. Okay. Number 3, John Black is a computer hacker with the latest and most powerful encryption software installed on his system. Unfortunately, he's managed to lose his only copy of his 46-character password. Now, John must summon all of his expertise and perhaps get a bit lucky to break into his own system. Will John ever regain access? Okay. Oh. In this case here, okay, you got John Black versus the computer system, right? What's he up against? Technology. So it's person against technology. So we got number 4. Number 4, Beth wanted to look just like the famous pop star Lady Gaga. Oh, how original. So she went to the hairstylist and requested a drastic new haircut, one that required her shaving half her head. When she left the hairstylist, it looked pretty good, but now in the morning of the school day, she finds she cannot recreate the look. Can Beth pull off the Lady Gaga look? Will she be able to muster the courage to go to school if she cannot? Find out in this thrilling epic. Okay? Main character we know is Beth. All right? And who's she battling? She's battling Beth. So this is a case of Beth versus self. Or in this case here, it's person versus self. It's a self-conflict, self-struggle. Number 5, Eric is just a regular Viking warrior making living off of raiding and plundering villages. Eric's career has been going pretty well until he attempts to raid the small hamlet of Resistia. In Resistia, a brave farmer named William leads the peasants and drives the Vikings out of Resistia in the most embarrassing of fashions. After vowing revenge, Eric and his men return with reinforcements and incendiary weapons. Incendiary meaning things that can burn, can set fire. Can Eric and his fellow warriors crush this small farming town? So we got Eric's the main character. And it's versus William and the farmers. So in this case here, it's person versus person. Okay. So number 5 is, person versus person. Turn her around there, right? Yeah. I wish it was a little bit lighter weight. But, hey, it is what it is. Not bad for homemade. Didn't take long, just some scrap wood, rope, a couple hinges, and some chalkboard paint. Okay. Now, the next step is build my tiny house. Just kidding. Well, no, actually, I'm not kidding. In a few years. Jason has moved to Oklahoma Territory in hopes of starting a new and better life for his family as a farmer. There's just one problem. Jason can't get any crops to grow on his land. He's tried using fertilizers, rotating crops, and praying, but the land remains barren. Just as Jason's dream is about to end, he is assisted by a Native American medicine man who teaches Jason how to properly nurture his crops on this land. But is it too late? Well, we know that the story is about Jason, right? And in this case, it's Jason versus nature. He's trying to raise his crops. Crops are grown in nature. So it's a case of person versus nature. Number 7, Erwin is a mystic dragon rider from the land of Nar. He has everything that a dragon rider could want: a strong lance, a sturdy saddle, and a powerful dragon. One day, while he is riding over Carawal, an evil wizard casts a spell that turns Erwin's dragon against him. Now Erwin must understand what it means to face off against a dragon, and he will have to summon all of his abilities to survive. So the main character is Erwin. And he's up against the evil wizard and his own dragon. Okay? So this is a case of person versus, are evil wizards and dragons real? Of course not. It's supernatural. Pretty simple. Okay? Number 8, Franz was once the best ballerina dancer in Europe until he was involved in a tragic dancing accident that shattered his ankle bone. After several surgeries and months of physical therapy, Franz was told that he might never dance again. Join Franz as he pushes the limits of his recovery and anatomy on a quest to regain his former grace and poise as a lead dancer. Main character is Franz, right? Well, that was coming apart. Franz versus his injuries, right? Or self. So it's Franz versus Franz. And that's a case of person versus themselves. Person versus self. Okay. Number 9. Jan was born in a middle-class family and received many privileges and advantages, many of which she didn't even realize that she was receiving. When she went away to college and met people from other backgrounds and places, she began to realize how unfair society could be. Now Jan wants to make a change and is calling for the radical redistribution of wealth. But as her movement gains traction, she attracts some unwanted attention. Will Jan be incarcerated, assassinated for expressing her revolutionary ideas, or will she back off and quietly appreciate her privileges once again? Main character is Jan. And what is she up against? Society. Okay? So it's Jan versus society. In this case here, there's society. She grew up in a class where she had pretty much everything she wanted, and now she believes that everything should be distributed equally. It's actually called communism, and it's actually an utter failure. But anyways, the main point is it's a conflict between Jan and society. So it's person versus society. Okay. Now, number 10. Frank Macho is a former CIA operative with an intensive background in weapons and combat training. When a criminal organization kidnaps Frank's son in a foreign country, Frank will stop at nothing to save him. Join Frank as he travels around the world to beat up a bunch of different people in order to save his son. So the main character is Frank. Okay, all right. Now, who's he up against? He's up against the kidnappers. So in this case here, this is another case of person versus person. And here we are fighting nature. Get away, bug. You know, I like nature, but, you know, bugs do bother me after a while. Okay, so again, this is the fourth worksheet that I expect everybody in reading to finish up. And we'll move on from there. I think it's painted in there. All right. So I want you all to stay safe. And this thing likes me for some reason. Okay. So again, I want you all to stay safe and take care. Okay. Thank you.